Hello, welcome to Rough Cut Film Review. This is the review of Oblivion, which is the latest Tom Cruise sci-fi blockbuster, and it's directed by the bloke that brought us the recent remake of Tron. His name is Joseph Kosinski, and apart from that, he's directed absolutely nothing, according to IMDb. I think it'll probably remind you as well of a couple of pretty disappointing Will Smith films. So, for example, I, Robot and I Am Legend, which are sort of sci-fi classics from their source material, but are pretty bland blockbusters. There's also a bit of the cheesy fun of Independence Day in Oblivion. In terms of tone, we've also got things like Prometheus. 2001 A Space Odyssey is there in the deep background, and in fact there's a spaceship that is in Oblivion which is called Odyssey, which is, a very telling nod. It'll probably also remind you of WALL-E, Silent Running, The Matrix. I mean, watching the film, it's never occurred to me when doing this reviews. As I was sitting in the cinema, I thought of so many different films. This had, sort of been a magpie and cherry-picked stuff. Not that magpies pick cherries, but you know what I mean. It's got loads and loads of influences. Apparently, it's based on a comic book, as far as I can tell. But it's basically, in a nutshell, it's a big-budget version of the excellent sci-fi film Moon, which came out a couple of years ago. Duncan Jones, I think, made it, and he did a fantastic job. It's no spoiler to say, to be honest, that there's going to be a twist, and the twist in Oblivion is pretty much identical to Moon. I mean, I'm slightly embarrassed watching, actually. They seem to think that they're onto a fresh original idea, despite having all of these influences that they wear on their sleeve. But watch Moon and then watch Oblivion, and you sort of feel like someone is getting gypped. It's sort of like if you were to watch another thriller that had the same twist as its usual suspects, and you think, hang on a second, what's going on here? So for me, really, it's a less compelling, blander, bigger budgeted remake, or Billy Box Office and Jenny General Public, and probably Pedro Popcorn of Moon. Also, let's be honest, this is a rip-off story of Phillip K Dick. It really is. It's not credited, but this is an absolute rip-off of Phillip K Dick, as well as being a rip-off of Moon. And actually, to be honest, that's not so bad. I really like Dick's, Phillip K Dick, I mean, of course, his paranoid, neurotic and generally bonkers take on the world, and, his sense of identity and all these sorts of things, him worrying about the FBI busting him and spying on him and all that kind of thing. And some of that stuff is in Oblivion. So plot-wise, we're in the future. There's been an alien attack on Earth. The moon's been destroyed. Humans have then used nuclear weapons to win the war. But what's left of the Earth is pretty knackered. It's pretty... The Earth is no longer inhabitable. The survivors get into a big spaceship, and they then go and migrate to a moon on Saturn, and that's where they're living, with only a small team on Earth to make sure that these big energy processor things that suck up seawater are being properly maintained, and they maintain military drones which protect the processors from the surviving aliens who are still on the planet Earth and obstinately fighting away. And they're doing sort of guerrilla attacks and all that kind of thing. The themes here are pretty straightforward if you're a fan of Phillip K Dick. So, we've got stuff about love, individuality, personality, what makes us human, what makes us us, these sorts of things, really. If you don't know who Phillip K Dick is, think Blade Runner, Scanner Darkly, various other films. I mean, I know I've said this film is like X and Y and, all sorts, but there's also a lot of that sort of robots, Asimov stuff in here, as well as quite a bit of biblical stuff as well. So Adam and Eve, etc., etc. Well, what's good about the film, apart from all of those really good things that I've referenced and Silent Running and all sorts? Well, it's suitably cinematic with lots of, quite cold shots, zoomed out, where everything looks quite grand of the old destroyed Earth, and we can see recognisable buildings from our day. It does look a bit computer generated, if I'm completely honest, but we get a good sense of the scale if it feels all a little bit sparse and Spartan, but everything's been destroyed, so that's pretty understandable. In fairness to the film as well, I was really expecting the film to wimp out toward the end as we're building toward the ending, and it does wimp out, but it doesn't quite wimp out as badly as I was expecting it to. I thought the film was very slow to get going, was poodling along, and I thought, come on, let's let's speed things up. Let's get into the second act. Let's have something happen. Something does happen, and fine. And slowly I was getting engaged, and toward the end I was enjoying myself, albeit, as I said, it did wimp out at the end. I was very aware of my bottom being sore, and that's not a good sign. Also, at the beginning of the film, they repeatedly tell the audience that members of this special mission have had their memories wiped, to protect the mission or something, for security reasons, maybe? Something, they give some ridiculous reason, and you think, right, well, straight away, we know we know where this is going. We just need to work out why the people are not who we think they are, kind of thing. It really signposts its own twist. We then get little glimpses of the character Sally, which is a reference to something else, played by Sigourney Weaver, and we just see her on a sort of little screen. She's coming through the comm system. There's a grainy bit of video footage of her. And Sigourney Weaver, obviously I like her very much from Aliens, and she can do no wrong, really, but she affects a very poor and suspiciously friendly southern US accent with lots of yawls and all this sort of thing. So trouble's afoot. You absolutely do. And that's even if you haven't seen the trailer, and it's one of those trailers for this which shamelessly shows almost everything that's going to be in the film. A trailer should not just be a 2-minute summary of the film and all the key shots. Shouldn't be what trailers are, but filmmakers are getting murdered on the back of modern trailers, trying to get people in the door. But there we go. Anyway, Tom Cruise, well, I'll be careful what I say. He's fine, and sometimes I forget he can be fine. There's a lot of fun in Mission Impossible 3, and he acts his heart out here, especially the scene where he has to enjoy kissing a woman. I joke, of course. Morgan Freeman's in this. He sleepwalks through his role. Nothing interesting there. He just plays a character he's played many, many times, and just does that likeable voice and lulls us into a false sense of security, and we go, Morgan. But really, he's not doing very much. He smokes a cigar. All right. The real star here is, as always, Andrea Riseborough. She's really, really good. She's actually got a really rubbish character to play, a very, very bland character. And she's also given this really bad dialogue. She's got to have these conversations with Sally, Sigourney Weaver's character, over the sort of video chat. And, Sally keeps saying, "Are you an effective team?" And then Andrea Riseborough's character says, "Yes, we are an effective team." And they're building something. There's a point they're doing it, but it's there is some very poor dialogue in this film, unfortunately, and things should have maybe been thought through a little bit more. But with the character Andrea Riseborough, gives her langers. There's in stark contrast, I'm not northern, to Olga, oh gosh, I'll have a crack at pronouncing this, Olga Kurylenko, who is the other female love interest essentially for Tom Cruise. She's very wooden. She's very pretty, but she's very wooden. She was a Bond girl before. I was just reading about it actually in IMDb, if you trust the IMDb. Apparently her character was going to be played by Jessica Chastain, but then she had to drop out because of scheduling conflicts. So I don't know whether that's true, but it would sort of make sense. But you'll get an impression maybe that I dislike the film from this review. As I said, I was engaged toward the end, and it's not a terrible film. But effectively, what it boils down to is this is a sci-fi film for people that don't like sci-fi. Sci-fi fans won't really like this, is my estimation. Kind regards, Christopher Thomas.